Welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Shannon Penrod.
And I'm Nancy alspaugh-jackson. It's good to be back. It's been 2 weeks.
Yes.
And wow, what has happened in 2 weeks in the autism world, right?
It's pretty amazing.
Yes, really shaking the foundation of the autism world.
Absolutely. Lots in the news.
Everybody's heard, obviously, about the study by the CDC that the numbers are now 1 in 88.
Yeah.
This has caused a lot of discussion and controversy, right, Shannon?
Absolutely. I'm amazed at the things that are coming out of people's mouths in response to this.
I am too. I just want to start by reading something from, it was in the New York Times on Sunday, a whole-page article called The Autism Wars, and it said that this has the increase has been a lightning rod for those who question the legitimacy of the diagnosis, saying that the prevalence being doubled since 2007 is basically because of more diagnosis, not an increase in the problem. And someone on the New York Times website said another excuse for parents who want an out for why little Johnny is out of control. And here's another one. Just like all of a sudden in everybody had ADHD in the 90s, now everyone has autism. When I read this, it brought tears to my eyes because what my pediatrician said when I first called him right before Wyatt turned 3, and my neighbor suggested that Wyatt might have autism, when I called my pediatrician, he scoffed and he said, "Ha, autism, this is the latest trendy disorder of soccer moms."
Right.
Just like ADHD was. Well, my son did have autism. Right. Not only did he have autism, he had moderate to severe autism and could have been diagnosed easily. Now, I don't blame that pediatrician. He's a lot better educated now.
You're a better person than I am, Nancy, because I would be blaming him.
Well, I didn't blame him, but we're all walking our path that we need to walk, and because of the trouble my son went through and what I went through as a former television producer that is a born researcher, realizing that if I had this hard of a time, what's it like for the average person? Yeah. So what is your reaction, Shannon, your visceral reaction to all of this?
Well, there have been a couple of things that have happened this week and responses like this person's. And my response yesterday was, I wish people who don't know, who have not done research, who have not been in our homes, who have not seen our children, would just shut their pie holes. I wish that they would refrain from having an opinion. Right. Because I am not sitting here and saying, well, I know that the entire economy is just a fluke. This is just everybody's thing. This is just your excuse for...
I'm not sitting here saying diabetes is just an excuse for, when people said they have diabetes, this is just something fat people are saying for overeating. And this is as offensive as saying that.
And I want to know what these people's degrees are. Are they diagnosing children? Do they have a child in their home? Have they seen this happen? Because unless you are an expert, you need to shut your pie hole. That's just where, that's my technical term for it.
The other thing is that, it makes me mad too. And I say, when people have interviewed me on this subject in the last 2 weeks and said, what do you think? Do you think this is just better diagnosis? I said, I think that children are finally getting diagnosed. Right. And if it is better diagnosis, thank God for that. And ask any elementary school teacher in this country if she has seen an increase in autism in her classroom. And I guarantee you, they will say yes.
Yeah. Well, and I think just if you look at it logistically, when I was a kid, there was one child in my neighborhood who clearly had autism. And no one, and and now I look everywhere and I see children everywhere. How can that be? How can that be that we all just want an excuse for bad behavior? And if you spent any time with our children, you would see that it's not just bad behavior, that there's other things going on.
Many other things. And, Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh, the founder of CARD and the founder of Act Today, when she is asked about, is it just better diagnosis, she said that assumes the professionals in the field have not known what they're doing for the last 20 years. Right. It also, I always say, well, where are the 1 million adults that are toe walking, hand flapping, stimming, and tantruming. They're not all in institutions,
right?
And they're not all homeless people out there.
Where did they go?
Where did they go?
It all straightened out for them? This is the other thing that they're saying, oh, well, they can outgrow it. Thank you.
Okay. So, you know how we feel about that. Also, in those numbers, very alarming, biggest increases in Hispanic and Black children. And at ACT Today, we have ACT Espanol, which is a program for the Hispanic community, and we're going to be announcing some exciting developments in that. And we have a public service announcement airing on Univision. Our board member, Gabriela Tessier, has a child with autism, and she is going to be airing a week-long series the last week of this month. We might want to have her on, actually.
Absolutely.
And she is going to be interviewing families and children, one family in particular that we gave an iPad to. And so it will be in Spanish, and a lot of help needed there. Gabriela said this is, there's been a lot of denial among a lot of the families she's known, and she really wants to see a cultural shift with that and get a better diagnosis, get a lot more early intervention there in the Hispanic community.
Absolutely, absolutely, so important. And I think we're going to see a lot of things come from these numbers. One of the things that I was really struck by is the growing disparity between the girls and the boys, and it has a negative effect for both groups.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, we're concerned about how many boys are being diagnosed with this, but as the disparity grows, it means there's more and more services for the boys and there's less and less for the girls.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we might want to have, might want to spend some time in the future on the show talking to some parents of girls, because I can imagine that's a very isolating experience.
I hear from parents all the time and say, you imagine how bad it is for you, but there are other people, shoulders for you to cry on, a classroom that you can take your children in, and all the moms know what you're talking about, but I take my girl in and there's 8 boys in the class. And my child has no one as a role model. I hear that from the parents a lot. So
and
we'll be talking about.
With the girls, it occurs to me that with girls, social pressure is worse.
It is.
And they tend to mature earlier. And there's a lot more pressure among girls to be social.
Yes.
And with boys can kind of be the loner. They can kind of, so I think it's particularly devastating for parents of girls with autism. And we'd like to hear from you, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we are going to be talking about, there's a book, in fact, that we're going to be talking about in a couple of weeks. So topics to talk about, but we want to hear from you the kinds of things that you'd like to know more about. So
let me ask you about the gene. Why do they always wait till April to get these studies out? The genetic studies.
Yes.
Can you simplify for us? Can you give us the autism genetic complexity? Well, it says autism studies confirm genetic complexity, and it is complex, right?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Friday. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to get one of our researchers in to kind of take it apart for me, because we're hearing we're hearing it really condensed down on the news. And so what it condenses down to on the news is older fathers more prevalent, and women who gained a certain amount of weight,
30 pounds
more prevalent. So my husband and I sat on the couch yesterday and went, well, okay, it's
there
official.
We are.
It's us.
And my son was adopted, but his birth mother was quite young, 19, and his birth father was quite young, 20.
Right.
And, none of that. So there you go.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is being read by the general public as another case for the genetic link. However, most of these say a very small amount of these, 15%, were linked to new mutations, and some of those mutations have to do with environmental triggers with the genetic mutation.
Right. And this is one of the reasons why I want somebody to really take it apart, because this very simplified thing that keeps being blasted in the media, everybody's going, oh, well, there we have it.
Yeah.
We're done. We're done. We've now explained it's older dads and it's women who are eating too much ice cream when they're pregnant. Good, we're done. We can all go home. And that is not what the studies are saying.
Overall, the new findings will give autism researchers lots to work with, but unfortunately, no clear answers yet for people affected by autism.
There you go. And there you go. But funny that isn't what's being read.
No, that's not what's being read. No.
At all. So I think it just as my husband said to me yesterday, he said, well, it's good to have more information as long as we all just know that that's what it is. It's more information, and that we have a long, long way to go.
Well, ACT Today is joining a lot of other autism organizations in calling for a national strategy on this epidemic.
Good.
We are calling for all lawmakers and public servants and leaders to get active on this on a state level and on a national level.
Yeah.
We're calling for the president and the administration to get active on this. We are asking the scientific community to get busy on the cause and cures, quote, cures. And we're going to have to do this. It's enough is enough.
Exactly. And Nancy, I'm going to be looking to you to tell us what we need to do as individuals to step up, to have our voices meld together and be heard in all those places you were just talking about.
Okay. Well,
So
you and I
us.
are going to get information out on when people can vote.
Yep.
You know, Autism Votes is a very powerful way that people can just click on and support lawmakers. I'm asking all parents of children with autism and those that know children with autism and have family members and friends to be aware of which policymakers support families of children with autism. And we can do more on that. Dr. Grandpichet and I are going to be going to Sacramento. We're going to be meeting with lawmakers, and we're going to be acknowledging them and giving them certificates of activism for helping us. And you and I will publicly acknowledge them so people can vote for them. This is the most important thing we can do. We have got to get active. We have got to be like, someone told me we've got to be a lot like the AIDS community was, and really mobilizing politically and on a local level as well, and getting active with our schools, getting active with our local government. And we're going to be talking to Reba Martin in a little bit.
Yes.
And she's going to be telling us about the Special Needs Network and their work. And on Friday, I'm going to a legislative breakfast that she's sponsoring as part of that. So I'm going to learn a lot more.
You're moving it and shaking it.
Next week, I can fill you in on what some of those lawmakers are doing for us.
Fabulous. And I just want to say, for those of you who are in the beginning part of your journey, if all of that overwhelms you because you say, I'm just trying to get help for my child, I just want you to know that you need to focus on the things that you need to focus on. However, there are going to be lots of people, as you're letting people know that your child's been diagnosed, who say, I don't know what to do for you. And one of the things that we were told early on was to say to those people, I need for you to go and advocate for me for the next 2 years while I'm busy working with my child because my voice is tied up. So could you go anytime you have an opportunity to like something on Facebook or push the message, please go do that for me. So it doesn't always have to be you. You can say to the grandparents,
that's right,
please do this for us. Advocate while we can.
You know, that's really important, Shannon. I'm glad you brought that up. For the first 2 years after my son was diagnosed, I basically said, I'll help others after my own child gets help.
We said the same thing.
Yeah, and Wyatt was almost 5 when he got when he received ABA therapy, and that's when things started turning around for us, and that's when I started doing fundraising.
There you go. And
then became executive director of ACT Today. It was after my own child got help, and before that, I said I kind of made a vow. To God, and I said, I will help others once my own child gets help. The most single important thing you can do is help your own child and your own family.
Yeah, and I always say go to ground first.
Yeah.
And then you can help others later. That was my husband and I made that deal, that pact as well. We'll do everything we can for our child, and then we're going to turn around and help as many other people as we can.
That's great.
You do that for yourself, but in the meantime, when other people say, I don't know what to do for you, go use, take my legs and my voice and go advocate for me so that I can be here with my kid, and they will.
Yes.
Wonderful thing. Let's take a break.
Okay.
But when we come back, as you mentioned, we're going to have Reba Martin with us via Skype, which will be a wonderful thing. She's a fabulous autism mom, advocate, author, attorney.
Yeah, talk about a powerhouse.
Yeah, I said I'm so lucky today to be with the two of you. You guys are incredibly powerful women who are getting it done. So stick with us. We're going to be back in just a few minutes with Reba. Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Shannon Penrod.
And I'm Nancy alspaugh-jackson, and we've got a very exciting guest right now.
Yes,
I'm really excited to meet her.
We do. I had the opportunity to speak a little bit with Reba Martin last week, but she's going to join us again by Skype so that we can have a conversation with her. Reba, are you there?
I am. Thank you so much, Shannon, and thank you so much, Nancy, for having me on today.
Well, we're thrilled to have you back. I mentioned last week that we had scheduled to have you on today, and we had a rare opportunity to talk to you on World Autism Awareness Day, so we took that opportunity.
Good.
But I promised that we would have you back on because I knew that Nancy would cease speaking to me if we didn't. And it's wonderful to have you back on anyway because you're an amazing mom and an incredible advocate. You are the co-founder and president of the Special Needs Network. And for anybody who doesn't know, can you tell us a little bit about that organization and your role with them?
Yes, Special Needs Network is a 501c nonprofit started in Los Angeles about 6 years ago. And I really started the organization to address the issues that families in low income and underserved communities faced. I just found that so many families in those communities were disconnected from mainstream autism organizations and really didn't feel as if they had a voice. And what Special Needs Network does is give those families a voice. We connect them with resources. We're very involved with policy advocacy. We've been at the fore of advocating for health insurance for autism therapies. We're now working on a campaign to address issues of disparities in spending at the California Developmental Services Department. And we just really work to create community and to connect families with those services, educational and health, that they really need to help their kids grow and to thrive. So it's been a labor of love. My son was diagnosed with autism when he was 2, so this is my passion, it's my profession, and it's also very personal to me.
Reba, how old is your son now?
My son Marty is 13.
And how is he doing?
He's doing wonderful. He has just blossomed. I know as a mom firsthand, again, the importance of early diagnosis and intervention services. Marty was one of the fortunate kids. He was diagnosed when he was around 2 years old, and he's had consistent therapy from, some of the best therapists in town. And that's made just a world of difference in terms of his growth and development. And that's why it's so important that all of us that work in the autism and the disability community, really target those families that need the diagnostic services and the intervention services, because we know when the kids get what they need, their limits are just, they have no limits. It's just unbelievable. And so I'm excited about being able to serve and being able to be a part of such a dynamic community.
Well, that's so great that you, because of your own fortunate situation, you became an activist and advocate for others. And I think that often happens with moms like us. Reba, the new figures released by the CDC that say 1 in 88 children now are affected by this epidemic. What do you, this is a big question, but what do you see as part of the solution to dealing with this epidemic?
Nancy, when I saw that number, like many in the community, I was shocked on one hand, but really not on the others, because I see so many kids who have been impacted with autism. Whether they have the official diagnosis or not is very clear from their symptoms. I think what's happening is really positive, which is all of this awareness. I was saying before we went on air, you can't turn on the television, you can't pick up a newspaper or turn on the internet without seeing some story about autism. And we know when you get this much, public attention, public recognition, the dollars hopefully will flow, the dollars for research, so that we can find, we can determine, is it genetic, is it environmental, is it a combination of the two? Are there things that parents can do, pre-conception or during conception that will impact, the lives of children and that brain development, which is so important? And, there's a lot of focus, too, in the media about finding that scientific solution. And although I support that wholeheartedly, I also want to make sure that, resources flow into communities so that parents who do have kids on the spectrum are getting the help that they need, so that we're not so, focused on the cure and, the scientific solution that we lose sight of the needs of the folks dealing with this day in and day out. Because those families, the ones I see at Special Needs Networks, the one that I connect with all over this country, they need a lot of help. And so I'm just hopeful that the new CDC report, is the driving force, the catalyst to get families the help they need.
Absolutely.
Amen. I mean, that was beautifully said. And Reba, I deal with them every day as well. As executive director of ACT Today, Autism Care and Treatment Today, and as you know, we give grants to families that cannot access or afford the treatment they need, which I always tell people is 99% of them.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Absolutely. That is wonderful.
Reba, I'm wondering too that part of the new study, one of the really disturbing facts in it was that the hugest increase has been amongst Hispanic children, followed closely by Black children. Are you particularly concerned by this amazing increase among minority groups?
I am, Shannon, and another part of that report that hasn't been talked about is, despite that being the largest increase, like you said, with African American and Latino children, there's still the belief that so many children in minority communities are undiagnosed. So although they were able to, determine that there's been a growth amongst African Americans and Latinos, the report still concluded that many more children in those communities have not been diagnosed. When I got my son's diagnosis, I couldn't find people in my community, in the African American community, that were talking about autism. There was a stigma associated with having a child, quite frankly, with special needs. Now, we've seen a lot change over the last, 5 to 7 years, more, people using their celebritydom, their high-profile status to make autism, less, mysterious and to make it more acceptable. And I think what we're seeing is more African Americans and more Latino families, feeling more comfortable seeking a diagnosis. And so that's why we're seeing the increases in those numbers, because, we're peeling back the...
and we're losing Reba a little bit here, but...
Are we losing her? Okay.
Yes.
Let's see if we can get her back.
Yeah, absolutely. But
we'll talk a little bit more.
One of the things that we want to talk with her in particular about, and we're sorry for the little bit of difficulty with our Skype there, but this weekend, and I know you're attending it, Nancy.
Yes, on Friday, and we're going to get her back here in a minute, I'm sure,
but
even if we have to take a break.
Yes, the 6th Annual Tools for Transformation Conference this Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about, in fact, let's take a break.
Let's take a break. We'll get her back, because this is a really important thing for our viewers. We'll take a quick break, and
we'll get Reba back.
We'll get her back because we want her to promote this conference.
Really important. So stick with us. We'll be back in just a minute. Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We were speaking with Reba Martin, a wonderful author, advocate, attorney, and the co-founder and president of the Special Needs Network. We've had some technical difficulty. We're still in the process of trying to get her back. So,
because we want to give you information about her incredible conference this Friday and Saturday in Los Angeles, the Tools for Transformation Conference, which is very important for families to access information. I know, Shannon, when after my son was diagnosed, when he was 3-4 years old, going to a DAN conference was a turning point in my life because it gave me, that's actually where I heard Dr. Dorian Granpeesheh speak. And believe it or not, my son had been diagnosed for a full year before I ever heard the words ABA therapy.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I believe it. And it's so important to be able to, first of all, help those families that are in need, but to disseminate information. And sometimes those conferences can be absolutely life-changing.
Yeah.
And this is a really important conference. Again, it's called the 6th Annual, it is the 6th Annual Tools for Transformation Conference. It's this Friday and Saturday. We're hoping to get Reba back with us to talk more about it. But in the meantime, we might as well talk about what your last, week was like, because I know, excuse me.
Need some water?
Yeah. But I know that you went to that event on the Intrepid.
I did.
So tell us what that was and what it was like.
Autism Speaks kicked off Autism Awareness Month by announcing a wonderful day to honor military families with children with autism. They are making this a big part of their initiatives, and I'm proud to say that we led the way with this at ACT Today, with our ACT Today for Military Families program, where we give grants to military families who have children with autism, and those can be active or retired military, because with retired military, they lose the benefits, okay, from TRICARE. So this isn't a good thing. We got to change this. So Autism Speaks, which is very strong in the legislative side, they are pushing forward the Combating Autism Bill, which will make more therapy hours, which will make ABA more readily available, more intensively available to military families, while we bridge the gap with providing treatment. So we went to an event on the U.S. Intrepid, an amazing museum. They have taken an aircraft carrier, turned it into a museum in one of the piers in New York, and we were there with so many notables, astronauts, senators, Senator Larson from Connecticut, Bob and Suzanne Wright, the founders of Autism Speaks, and they were incredibly warm and complimentary of the work we do at ACT Today and the work that CARD does. And they, Bob Woodruff, who was the reporter anchor whose head was partially blown off by a landmine, I believe, explosion. I'm not sure exactly the details. Made an amazing comeback. He was the moderator, and families spoke. Our own Karen Driscoll, who founded ACT Today for Military Families with me, has been hired away by Autism Speaks to be their Director of Government Relations and Military Affairs. She spoke, and I met many, many brave military families, one in particular, a wounded warrior who he and his 3 children, a little boy with autism, he and his wife spoke to me at length about the challenges because they've moved just recently, lost all their benefits. So it was a great day. I was so proud, Shannon, so proud to be a part of it. You're tearing up, and you're making me tear up.
No, because I can't even imagine how emotional it had to have been on that aircraft carrier, and to be there with. It just makes me so emotional that somebody could risk their life for our country and be a wounded warrior and come home and be
not
told,
have their children taken care of.
And be told your child doesn't get the best of what we have to offer.
And that's exactly how
can that
the
be?
rights feel about this situation. It's how we feel about this situation. Those families deserve the best of treatment, as all families in America do. All families in America deserve the best care and treatment for their children. They deserve early intervention. We have to demand it, and you have to demand it for your child if you're out there listening. So that was amazing. We also had a great event last weekend, speaking of military families. We had our ACT Today for Military Families run and Family Festival, One Hope Wine Family Festival. We had well over 1,000 participants in the 10K, 5K, and Family Fun Run. We had an Easter egg hunt. And at this point, it looks like we've raised at least $105,000 from this one event. Hey,
go, girl.
High five.
Yeah,
for
that's
military
amazing.
families with children with autism. So that campaign is going strong, that program, and we encourage you to go to act-today.org and click on our ACT Today for Military Families and apply for a grant. If you're not getting the proper care and treatment for your child and you're a military family, if you're any family, we encourage you. Now, I understand we have a Reba back.
Yeah, we do. Reba, are you there? It was a rumor. Reba, are you there? Oh,
Hi.
I'm so glad to have you back. It is wonderful when it works, technology.
All right. We don't want to lose you again, so we want to get right into the 6th annual Tools for Transformation Conference, which is this Friday and Saturday in Los Angeles. Tell us about it, Reba.
Yes,
Yes.
this is our annual event that we've been bringing into the community of Los Angeles. Like you said, 6th annual. This is our 6th year, and it's a 2-day conference, free to families, free to professionals, free to advocates
And community leaders. It starts with a legislative breakfast where we bring together our leaders from government and foundations and other organizations to talk about, how do we address, our deteriorating safety net, given all the cuts that have happened in the California state budget around autism. We then have an advocate summit where we bring together leaders and we train them on how to do policy advocacy and how to, get out and do the work that the community so desperately needs. And then Saturday is really our parent day, and it's all about parents. It's networking, it's support, it's 12 workshops. We have this year over 50 speakers that will present at the conference. We've registered almost 2,000 participants. Of child care, 150 kids will be, babysitting and not really even babysitting. They'll be in a special camp that we run called Camp JPAC. So they'll be engaged in music and art and dance. And it's just a wonderful way to bring our community together. And I think it's grown into the largest, autism disability rights conference in LA and maybe even in the state. Because it's so rich with resources. And I'm so glad that organizations like yours, Nancy, and, CARD and Autism Speaks, and so many of the other organizations in town have just been such amazing supporters of Special Needs Network and this event.
Well, I think the work you're doing is remarkable. I want to learn more about it. I want ACT Today to work with you in making sure we can help the families you're servicing. We are particularly concerned about minority communities and making sure they're getting the treatment and care and early diagnosis that their children need. And I stand with you on this, whatever we can do. I know Shannon feels the same way in getting this out there. I will be there on Friday for the legislative breakfast and to hear what a lot of our policymakers have to say. And we're very excited, Reba, and thank you so much for the service you're providing to families.
Oh, and we lost her again.
We lost her, but we got that great information
Yes, we did get that great information. But if you're interested in more information, you can go to Tools for Transformation Conference, Google it, and they've got a great website.
Go on the Special Needs Network website.
Yes. But you can also look under Tools
for Transformation
Conference.
Annual, right.
And great information. And I know that they already have over 2,000 people signed up, but I don't think it's too late. I think that
and it's free. And as she mentioned, there's childcare. And we mentioned earlier in the show, as we talked to her a week ago, that they also offer support for parents who have children on the spectrum who are needing to change their job because of their circumstances that go hand in hand. We know so many of us were not able to do the job that we were doing when our child was diagnosed because we needed to be there to do therapy. Mm-hmm. We needed to get to clinic appointments. We needed to go to the OT. We needed to, we still needed to work, but we couldn't do what we'd done before. And they're helping to provide parents with tools to make that transition to potentially a new career or a different career that lasts for a couple of years. And they're doing so many amazing things, but I have to say that's one of the things that really struck me that I went, oh my gosh. Yeah, I had to give up my career as a television producer. There was no way I could work the 50, 60 hours a week I used to work.
Absolutely.
And that's really how I got involved with advocacy and working in the nonprofit realm. And I meet so many parents, Shannon, and you changed your career.
I was in the classroom and teaching, and, I couldn't do that and be at home with my son. And so this became a whole other avenue for me.
Reinvention is possible, right?
Yes.
Reinvention is possible.
You were the queen of talking about that and how this doesn't have to be an end.
No, it's in fact what I find, Shannon, and what I talk to parents about at conferences is this usually is the beginning of a whole new life, and for me, a much more fulfilling life.
As for me as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It really was new careers for us. We found out that our so-called disability was an opportunity to do something entirely different. And
it didn't show itself that way in the first couple of years.
It'll take a while. Be patient because
that's a stew that has to cook a little while.
I always say I was down there on that kitchen floor for quite a while. It wasn't like overnight. I'm like, okay, I'm an autism advocate activist now, and I'm just fine. No,
Oh.
no. There were many hard days and nights.
If somebody had said to me even 5 years ago that I would be here hosting a show about autism, I would have laughed until I was delirious.
I know.
I would have said, I'm sure you're mistaken. Check again. Check that crystal ball again.
Check that crystal ball.
Look again.
So anyway, the ATMF Run and Family Festival.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. We're doing it again next year.
Why don't we take a break and then come back and show some of the pictures from it, because you had some great pictures.
That sounds great.
Let's do that. Let's take a
Okay.
break and we'll be back and talk some more about the events that happened this last weekend and the money that was raised for military families.
Great.
Love that. Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Shannon Penrod.
And I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson, and we had Reba Martin on. We lost her. We'd like to say bye, Reba. We're sorry. We're sorry it
She's
was
having
so
internet
abrupt.
troubles,
But
yeah.
we got everything in we wanted to get
Yes.
in, and we're going to have her back. She's a remarkable advocate and mother
Yeah.
of a child with autism, a son with autism, and the work she's doing is so needed and simply amazing. And so I encourage everybody to go for the Tools for Transformation Conference this Friday and Saturday if they're in the Los Angeles area, and also just to check out the Special Needs Network, right?
Absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful website full of resources and amazing things.
So.
And we're going to briefly mention an event that's coming up in a week from this weekend at a Spring Farm Festival that we think is a really wonderful event, but we're going to have somebody from that event on the show with us next week.
We're going to have someone on because this event is to raise funds. It's in the, I guess, the western LA area, in Moore Park, California. And it's to raise funds for a great idea, which is housing and programs for young adults with autism that I understand is going to be some sort of cooperative, organic ranch community where our kids, when they're young adults, can go and live and work and be contributing members of the economy, and it just sounds great. And we've got it up on the screen, so if you'd like to plan in advance, I believe it's 60 per person and 100 per couple. And Eddie Money, do you know him?
Yeah.
2 Tickets to Paradise?
Right.
He's playing.
That's wonderful.
I love him.
So there you go.
So it's got a lot of great things, and you can bring the kids. There's all kinds of petting zoo, bouncy houses, and everything, and I think therapists will be there and that kind of thing.
So wonderful, wonderful event. We're just giving you a heads up because
we're
we know
going to
you
have
like
somebody
to plan.
on
Yep,
from
we're
the
going to have them on
Probably next
on the
week,
program.
yeah.
Yes. So, but that's on the 21st is the event so that you can plan ahead. But
Right.
we were not done talking about the wonderful weekend, and we have some pictures to show of the event that
Does
you guys
Emily,
did.
our great director here, have?
she will,
Okay,
yes.
this is Graceland Mafia. They are the most fun. Okay, can you tell he's an Elvis, kind of an Elvis deal?
Oh, very fun.
They played, and look at all the people. Shannon.
Fabulous.
Look at all the people. Probably
attended.
about 1,400. This is one of the teams. Is that the card team? I'm not sure.
No.
No, not the card team. Okay, that's a team.
But I love the matching shirts.
That's a great team. A lot of these guys are military, by the way. And there I am in my...
Your camis.
My camis, yeah. Mark Christopher Lawrence, actor from Chuck, and the anchors from KNSD, NBC, and look at that.
So
Okay.
face painting.
The
a really
spirit
exciting
was
event.
so amazing, and I'm telling you, when you see these Marines and Army and Navy enlisted, officers and out there running for the kids, and it was
It's
so
always good to
touching
see the
me.
Marines. Always good to see the Marines.
Send in the Marines, right?
That's right.
So we had a great,
it's great to see all
time.
of them. What a wonderful thing, and what a fabulous. I'm so proud of you.
Well, thank you.
It's a wonderful thing that you're doing, and to raise that much money, and to know. Do you sleep better at night knowing that all that money is going to go to those families and is going to make a difference?
I do. And when we get, what I find is that some of our military families, the letters I receive from them after they get a grant for their child, and I just want to say, I want to acknowledge a couple of people, and that is Andreka Lanier, who is the campaign director and helped spearhead everything. Laura Marquin, who is my director of programs and development. She is truly amazing. She really had every detail of this run down and festival down to a T. And the amazing Amy Zhang, who never ceases to amaze me. And Caitlin Fullerton, who works with us on this show and getting us information. So, it takes a village, and Act Today is small. Yeah. It's lean and mean, but I call them the A-team. I have never seen, I often say, Washington would run like clockwork if they had my team. Yeah. Because these
girls
women
get it done.
These girls get it done. They are absolutely dedicated to children and families with autism.
Well, you're the fearless leader, so I want to congratulate you in terms of running that team like clockwork, your lean and mean team, because I appreciate that too.
Well, thank you.
That you run it lean and mean, because the help goes to who it needs to go to.
To the families, right.
And that's what's amazing. A lot of what you guys do just makes such good sense. I wish you were in Washington, because it makes such good sense.
You never
Someday?
Know.
Okay.
That
would be good. I'll get a vote for Nancy.
I don't think my past would allow me to.
Oh, please. Nowadays, have you seen what everybody else has done, Nancy? It's A-okay. It'd be tame. It'd be a walk in the park. Not to worry. Nowadays?
Yeah, nowadays. Yeah. All right, so what have we got coming up? The Autism Walk is coming up, right?
The Autism Walk is coming up.
What date is that? Do you know?
Gosh. I want to say the 21st. I want to say that's that Saturday, the 21st. It is.
Okay, it is.
Confirmation from our fabulous Emily.
Okay.
That it's the 21st, and our plan as of this moment is that you and I will be there, and we'll be doing a taped segment, doing interviews quite early in the morning at the resource fair.
Okay.
So if you're in the Los Angeles area, everything aside, I think information is one of the greatest tools that we have, and the resource fair at the Los Angeles Walk for Autism is unlike anything you've ever been to. It is a cornucopia of so much information. Everybody who has anything to do with autism, anywhere within a 150-mile radius, is there. They have each booth has an activity for your child to do, so that you can have even 30 seconds to be able to connect with somebody. I, as a parent, used to just go through and get one flyer from every single booth and take it home afterwards. They give free toys to your children. Your child will have a wonderful time. We still have a goldfish from that my son won.
Really? It's still alive?
Still alive.
That's pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing. And I think it's a carp. I don't think it really is a goldfish. It's gotten so big. But, your child gets sensory toys for free.
Are we going to bring our boys the day we're doing?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we need to have some help and support, though, because we'll be busy for at least a couple of hours.
Okay, we'll find some volunteers from my office to help. Maybe Amy can come along.
But it's a wonderful event to bring your kids to.
And so many times we can't bring our kids to things that other people bring their children to.
Yeah.
Because the food that's going to be there, the stimulation.
And there is a lot of stimulation, but there's quiet rooms. But the best thing is to see all those people there and know that every single one of them gets it. It's the best thing
That's very
ever.
Empowering, isn't it, Shannon?
It is. To look through that sea of people and go, okay, here is my community. They get it. I'm telling you, you walk taller, you feel better, you feel less isolated. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And then you go home and you have all this information. And sometimes, I usually go home and dump it all on the living room floor and sort through it all and say, this is for now.
Yeah,
this is for later.
That's a great idea.
And then pick out which toys my son gets to play with and which ones we want to save for reinforcement later on.
Oh, great.
You get good stuff from it.
This is great. And I think you and I are probably going to get some great ideas for people to have on this show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So a wonderful event. We want to connect with you there. If you're in the LA area or even close by, great to travel to.
Yeah.
We're at the end here.
We are?
We are. But I want to thank you for being here.
And having felt like 5 minutes today.
I know, it flew by. We want to thank Reba Martin for having been with us. Awesome lady.
And next week we're having on a wonderful young woman, a speech therapist who's developed a remarkable app for iPads and other things for children on the spectrum.
Fabulous. So lots of things to look forward to. We're going to be checking the news throughout the week. But remember, there are lots of ways to get in touch with us. And if you have a story that you want to see covered, please give us your suggestions and your thoughts and your comments and your questions. We really appreciate it.
We really want to hear from you. This show is about you and servicing you and your needs. And tell us what topics you want to see covered. So until next week, right, Shannon?
Absolutely. Give your kids a hug from us.
Please.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye.